Hello, everyone. How is everybody out there? That's about one of the only accents I do. Came in like a minute late. I have to admit why. The show is not canceled, muted. Why would it be canceled? I'm a minute late because Jill in here got me thinking about some like old school hip hop of raw bass and other tunes. And then I went to YouTube and I had to let the song finish. Didn't want to cut it off. That's bad juju right there. So I hope everybody is good. I had a day. I'll talk about that in a bit. Doing good. It was an absolutely beautiful day. If you follow me on Facebook as a friendy friend, you know that I posted a little video of the sun going down. It was beautiful out there. This is why people live in Florida for this time of year. They don't live here for June, July, and August. People live here for October, November, and December, and then like February, March, April. That's why people live here. If you don't know, at least down in this area and up in the Panhandle. It does get cold up there, and so it's a little bit different situation. But down here, Tampa area, there's just a time when the weather is just muy perfecto. So let's see who's in here and get started in this. Karen was first. Valerie was second with a nice little smiley. Jill went full Rob bass on us. Let's go for the best Wednesday night podcast related live show that is internationally known, but is known to rock the microphone. Nicely done, Jill. Caught that one very quickly. Hello, Charlotte. Jasmine, Screaming. What's going on, Screaming? Charlie Bravo, Cherie, thank you for moderating. Muted, the show is not canceled. We came in just a minute late. Hello, Kathy. Stitching, I know who Stitching is. Hello, Stitching. Leanne, JC, thank you all for showing up tonight, wherever you may be. Maybe we'll have some people from Australia or New Zealand or England or Ireland. We've even had a couple people from Hong Kong tune in once in a while. You just never know where people are going to be to watch. Just crazy. It's just crazy. I never could have expected that when I started this live show a little over 4 years ago. So what's going on with me? You know, if you've watched the live show, you know I always start with personal ed stuff, not too personal. Personal ed stuff before we get started. By the way, as you are watching, please give this video a thumbs up. You know it's going to be good. You don't have to like wait to the end. You aren't a movie critic. You know, you got to watch the credits roll before you make a decision. You know this live show is going to be good. They're always good. I always bring a lot of interesting material to them. Just give the video a thumbs up right now and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so when it's when I upload videos or do the live show, that you will know it right away because you know you want to know. This weekend, I have a disc golf tournament that counts. It's going to be down in Bradenton, which is directly south of here. I have to go across the Skyway Bridge, but it's a little easier these days because I got one of those Sun Pass sticker things on the windshield, so I don't have to actually stop to pay as I'm going down and I'm coming back. I can just drive right through. It makes it a little easier. You should know the reason I got one of those is finally, after living in Florida for 10 years, you know, in Nevada, they don't have any toll roads. But you come here in Florida, they do. And I was just like, you know, just have a couple bucks lying around. It's fine. But then I started to discover I really don't carry that much cash on me. And so I will tell you, there were a couple of times where I was on some toll road, and it was not one in which you could pay by plate. There was actually a toll booth, and there was a person standing there, and I really had to start scrounging for dollars and cents in my car to be able to pay. That's a true story. And in fact, I remember one time, I think it was going over to Lakeland or something, and there's a toll road over there, and I got on it, and I thought for sure I was going to be stuck on the road because I didn't have any money. Luckily, I forget what worked out. I forget how it all worked out, but I did not have to go through a toll booth without paying. But I've had that happen a couple times since living in Florida, and it does get my anxiety up a little bit, behind the wheel. So I finally decided to get through that by getting a Sun Pass, and I have the app, and now I don't have to worry about that anymore. And plus, it's at least a little bit cheaper. So I'll be going down to Braden and going down, coming back. One round on Saturday, one round on Sunday. Hopefully, I'll play well enough on Saturday that I'll actually want to come back on Sunday. A lot of driving, but it's one of those locations, distances where it's far enough that it's kind of a drive, but it's not far enough that I would ever stay overnight down there. So that makes it a little weird. Whereas you start getting down near North Fort Myers, Estero, going that way, then yeah, that's like 2.5, 3 hours. Then if I'm going to play down there, I have to stay down there. Or if I'm going north, if I'm going up to like Floral City or Ocala, I stay up there. If I'm going to Orlando, I'll stay over there. Whereas if it's Lakeland, I can drive back and forth from there, no big deal. So you just have to gauge these things. So I have a disc golf tournament, one round Saturday, one round Sunday. On Saturday, I will be playing the course sight unseen. Why? Because the course just got set up at the beginning of this week, and I'm not driving down there to look at it and then come back. So who knows what's going to happen? I have no idea. So I have a tournament this weekend, but it's just one round. No big deal. Although the driving back and forth will take up some time. I did play some disc golf today. In fact, I was down there at Azalea and I was pulling in, and who was there? My brother was there. My brother Brian, he was playing. I didn't even know he was there. But he does go out and throw once in a while. So we ended up hooking up and played some baskets together. That was nice and very unexpected. And I think, we'll just have to see how I'm going to play this weekend. I'm fairly positive things will go okay. Last time I played down in Sarasota, it was fine. Do I hope to win my division? It's possible. I wouldn't say it's probable, but it's certainly possible. And we'll see. I think a top 3 for me would be good, as long as my rating was corresponding to that. As long as it's above the round ratings are okay. It should be fine. Who else is in here? Sharon. Hello, Sharon. Oh, look at that moon. Pretty cool there, Sharon. Stitching says, Charlie Bravo, you were right about J for J. I'm guessing that's justice for someone. Don't know what that is. Hello, CR. What's going on, CR? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So that's what's going on in my disc golf life. After this weekend, the next tournament will be the second weekend of January. And that'll be local right here down at Maximo. And I got to be honest with you, I got a little wager going on for that tournament. We'll see how that works out. A wager with a fellow player. He brought it up, and I guess I was stupid enough to go along with it. So we'll see how that goes. A little wager, a side bet on this. We're not in the same divisions, although we will be playing the same tee pads, but we're not in the same division. So I'm not technically competing against him. It would certainly be possible for me to win my division, but him still beat me for the bet. So I probably won't win my division anyway. But so I got a little wager going on there. As for then after that, once gets to 2022, as far as disc golf, going to be fairly busy with, I think I'm already signed up for 6 tournaments in 2022 in January and February. Or no, maybe 5. This is 6. 5 in January and February, something like that. Moving on, as far as the holidays go, I'm staying right here. Dad is not going to be coming down here. I talked to him about that. Got to admit, he maybe wasn't too pleased about that, but I think my rationale is sound. And I'm not going to be going up there because of something that I've spoken about the last 2 weeks. And that is this thing that happened to me over 2 weeks ago that I originally thought was a panic attack, but now I believe it was something else. And I've been fine. I've been feeling great. But I got a doctor's appointment. When I called for a doctor's appointment, they said the soonest they could see me was January 10th. And I said, I don't know what that's going to do. So they put me on the to-call list if somebody canceled. And luckily, somebody has canceled. So I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. But since I don't know where that's going to go, I can't make any reservations or plans to go anywhere. So I'm not going to be able to go to Pennsylvania because I'm not going to see a doctor up there about it. I don't even know. Surely I have health insurance. Surely no doctor up there would be in my plan because these are all state-run things. So I have to stay here because my guess is I'll go to the doctor tomorrow, and then he might want to make me see a specialist or something, and then that's another appointment. And so I'm going to be here. Dad will be there. He'll be fine. So I'm going to be here. What am I going to do for Christmas? Don't know. It's always weird for me this type of time of year because I've spent, especially since I moved from Pennsylvania, I've spent so many holidays, especially in Las Vegas, working. I worked at Star Trek The Experience. I worked in some shows as stage manager. The show must go on. Doesn't matter if it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, wherever, whenever, the show must go on. So I was usually working for these holidays. And so when that happens, I will admit, at least for a single guy like myself, you start to disconnect these holidays with getting together family. On top of everything else, where I was living, none of my family lived. So I'll probably hang out. My brother Brian is going to see his kids in Oregon. I guess this coming Monday. He won't be back till the 30th. His wife of course, one of her daughters is in Iowa, but she'll probably be getting together with her other daughter. And that's totally fine. I have to tell you that it'll probably be very low key for me, no stress or anything else. And I'll just sleep in and everything anyway, which is probably the way I would prefer it anyway. Just being honest. It was also weird for me growing up because, I did live with my parents until I was 27. And so I spent so many holidays with them, but the holidays were weird because I never had anybody around my age. It was either like my parents or my grandparents or my aunt and uncle. They had kids, but their daughter is 11 years older than I am, something like that. And my other cousin, their son is like 15 years old and they had kids and everything. I just couldn't identify with anybody. And so I think I still kind of, it's still in my head all these years later. And maybe that's why the holidays never have become for me what it has become for, you know, most other, a majority of people. So me working during the holidays in Las Vegas was like a change for the better, because I got to be honest, I liked most of the people I worked with, and we were all in the same boat. We're working together, and it was cool. And they were like my family. And I have to admit, I had more fun working on those holidays, for example, in Las Vegas, than I did going to my family's holidays when I lived in Pennsylvania. Now, see here, since I moved to Florida, it's been kind of a mixed bag. I did spend Thanksgiving with my brother and his wife, and always a great time with them. That's happened quite a bit. But for Christmas, it's kind of been up and down and all around. It's been a little unpredictable. Of course, after my mother died, I had Christmas in Pennsylvania. I was up there. And then in 2019, and then last year, my dad came down here, but I would not say that things went smoothly. And so we're taking a break this year. But so I'll probably do Unfound work on Christmas, New Year's. Maybe I'll find something to do. My brother will be back from Oregon, so maybe I'll be hanging out with him and other people in the neighborhood or something, and that'll be good. So that's kind of what's going on with me for Christmas and New Year's. I went to the dentist again. Of course I did. At this point, as much as I go to the dentist, they should have a parking place reserved for me. And I went and got this root canal I had done. They put like another temporary crown on it, and I'll have to go back in 2 weeks to get a permanent one, because they had to do x-rays and all of that. So I got this done. I will tell you, this it works. It feels great. A little sensitive to cold over here. I just had some grapes that were really, really cold, and it's a little sensitive over here. Even though this is all work's done, maybe I'll talk to them about it. I don't know what they can do about that, but I can chew on it just fine. It's not a chewing problem. It's a coldness, hotness problem. I'll just have to watch that. But I think we're just about to the end of all of my dentistry stuff, but I'll be paying on it until like this time next year. But been using my new water pick flosser and all this stuff, and we're kind of trying to keep my teeth in as best shape as I can, so I don't have to do this ever again. So I was at the dentist. I think I have a very good dentist, no complaints whatsoever, and I will always be thankful to that dental office, because of what was going on with this back in whatever it was in September. And they took me in very quickly, and, kind of put me on the path to get a lot of work done that I needed to get done, even though, and I put it off for all these years, it's not cheap, but just have to look at it as an investment. Valerie says, definitely Vegas. We work all holidays. That's true, Valerie. That's the city that truly never sleeps. And Delane, there's Delane. I was wondering, where's Delane? Where is Delane? There she is. And so we got dentist a couple days ago, doctor tomorrow. Man, I'm seeing a lot of people with advanced degrees recently. And I got one of my Christmas gifts today. From my sister Diane. She will not be getting her gift until late this month. But I got some, this will not, so if any of you who follow me privately, or I guess on my Facebook page, is that privately? Know that I've been using my George Foreman grill. You know that, I cook a lot of steaks on there. I want you to know that I don't get the really, 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 really expensive steaks, but just some in my price range. And she got me some Omaha steaks and some chicken and some this and some that. It came in this huge white styrofoam container with dry ice in it. Very nice. Nicely done, Diane. Like it a lot. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Can't wait to try it out. And maybe I will save that for Christmas Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Maybe that's what I'll save it for. I still have a bunch of chicken wings that I've yet to prepare and cook. So got to get that done too. So thank you, Sister Diane. And she's actually going to be down here. So I'm guessing I'll probably see her while she's down. She's going to be over in Orlando for most of that time, though. So we'll see what we can work out. Spleen says my friend's daughter almost died because of a tooth infection. It's very serious, though. People might not realize that. Yeah, Spleen. There are stories out there like that. There are stories. I mean, I think you really, really, really got to let it go before it happens. You really got to let the pain get pretty bad. I guess for me, I have a low tolerance for pain in that way. If something starts bothering me, I want it to go away now. This is why when I go to the dentist, I'm like, just shoot me up. Just do it. make my whole face numb. Just do it. Some people don't like that. In fact, I've talked to my dad about it. For him, he doesn't like that, even though they numb it up, and he doesn't like the feeling of, you can still kind of feel it, that needle going in there. Just doesn't, bother me as much. But just shoot me up, make it numb, do whatever you want to do. So as far as your friend's daughter, I mean, if it got the tooth infection, I just can't imagine the pain that she was going through to put up with that. I don't think that I would ever get to the point with anything that was going on with me where it got to the point where I would almost die for something like that. The pain would get to me way before then. Screaming said, Charlotte says, that was so nice of my sister. Yes, it was very nice, Charlotte. Screaming, yeah, I have heard the infection can reach your brain fairly quickly and kill you. That is a story that's out there, Screaming. I don't know if it's ever happened, but it almost feels like something like some dentist, a marketing association has put out there. Got to get to your dentist. You're going to die of, a brain infection or something. It's certainly a good marketing ploy if it's not true. I don't know if it is, but I guess it's possible. But and as far as my Christmas shopping, it's pretty much done. I got it done on Monday. And being that a big news story over the last few months has been inflation, you don't really know about inflation until you start doing your Christmas shopping. And so I saw it, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So I got that done, and I hope everybody likes what they got. I try to be thoughtful. I have to admit that there have been gifts that I've gotten over the years. And of course, you always want to be thankful. That's the nice thing to do. It's the courteous thing to do. But we all know that we've all gotten gifts where we're like, you know what? I really put a lot of thought into getting a gift for this person. And I know it is the perfect gift for this person. And then they get me something and it's like they don't know me at all. And I'd like to think that I'm not that type of person. I would like to think that when people think about me getting things for them, that I actually put some thought into it. I showed that it's something that I know that they like, that they want, that they need, that goes along with their lifestyle, and everything. So, but it is amazing over the years, things that I've gotten from people, and I've been like, who do you think I am? So we'll see if that happens this year. All I can tell you is what I got from my sister. She knows me very well, and I thank her. Charlotte says, my brother's in the hospital with heart problems. He's 52. Very sorry to hear that, Charlotte. Happens. Got to watch out for yourself. Got to do that. 52 is too young. Charlotte to be having heart problems, but it happens. It certainly happens. And even I know at 51 that even though I've not ever had any heart problems or any allegations of heart problems or anything, but it kind of does a little bit run in my family. My biological father had heart issues, but not until he was, I don't know, maybe 70 or something like that. But I'm not sure he ever took care of himself either. And then my brother Michael had some heart issues. What year was it? 2009? 2008? 2009? Somewhere in there. So he would have been like 58. But once again, I'm not under the impression that he really looked out for his health either. Whereas myself, I go to the doctor at least just for a checkup at least once a year. And I've been doing that for years. I get my blood tested. It gets looked at, my cholesterol levels, all those things. I have a good relationship with my doctor. I take my cholesterol medicine and all of this. So even going to the doctor tomorrow, it's very normal for me. Although we'll see, what's going on. We'll see what he has to say about me tomorrow. By the way, as you are watching this, please give this video a thumbs up. Helps us with the YouTube algorithms. You know all about that. Charlotte's had heart trouble runs in our mom's family. Valerie, I'm a nurse. That is true. You can die from an abscessed tooth. Sepsis, rare, but still happens. So it's not just a marketing ploy, Valerie. Is that what you're telling us? Elaine, we were dealing with this little girl we were raising, being ungrateful for gifts. She's pretty dang lucky I'm not really the mother because she's have learned a quick lesson that she wouldn't forget. I get, Delane, I get that. And once again, when I talk about it, I don't want to seem ungrateful. It's the thought that counts, but I also have to say, some thoughts are better than others. Let's just put it that way. And more complete, more thorough. And I think I've encountered that. TD was suspicious the panic attacks might be more neurological than psychiatric. TD, that very well may be the case. I talked about it last week that when I was told when I tried to get a doctor's appointment that it wasn't going to be to January 10th, I was like, well, I'm just not going to sit around here and, wait for things to happen and can't go to the emergency room because I'm feeling fine right now, but I know something's going on and it's happened before, although it's been over 3 years ago. So what do I do? I start doing what most people do. We start self-diagnosing. We go to Google, we go to Wikipedia, we start checking symptoms and everything. And TD, I have to tell you that you may very well be right that it's more neurological than psychiatric. Because really, as I will tell anybody, if there was ever a person in this world that should never have panic attacks, it's me. And so in thinking about it, I think that this is going something more toward the neurological side. I don't think it's something that's serious. I don't think that I'm not inclined to believe that this is going to start a string of anything because I had it like once a year for a few years, then it went away for 3 years, and now it's back. I think it could be caused maybe, have I changed my eating habits sometime? Was I dehydrated? I'm open to a lot of different ideas, but I do think that is brought on by flickering screens and things like that, because that's when it has happened in the past. It's never happened when I've been out in the sun. In fact, under these conditions, it seems that when I do go outside, it goes away faster. That's a perception of mine. And why that is, I don't know. because for usual epilepsy sufferers, the sun can be a trigger. For me, it's like the opposite. And so I don't know. I'll tell him what went on tomorrow. Maybe he'll send me for an MRI. In fact, I was talking, I'll just call her a good friend about that today. And we'll just have to see. But I'm not inclined to believe that it's anything dangerous. It's never happened when I'm driving a car. It's never happened on the disc golf course. It's never happened in public. It's never happened outside. It just seems like under very, very specific circumstances is when it's happened. But it's still only happened 4 or 5 times. But when it happened in 2018, I told myself, if it ever happens again, I'm going to the doctor. I don't even care if I, completely recover and feel fine again. I'm going. And so that's what I'm doing. Little did I know it would take over 3.5 years for it to happen again. So, I'm not inclined to think it's a tumor or anything. It's not that. It's just something very unique. But I'm telling you, when it happens, man, my brain just goes like that. And as I stated last week, or even the week before, which was the day after it happened, that I can, I'm there on the bed and my face is down into the bed like this, and I'm testing my pulse and it's not high. It's just that I can remember a lot of facts. I can think about Unfound. I can name a lot of the disappearances, of course, 235 now and all those things. So my brain is working okay. On the other hand, if you were to ask me my age, I might get it wrong. I might say, I'm 51. I might say, am I 52? Am I 53? Am I 50? Or if you were to ask me at that time what year it is, I'm not sure I would have gotten it right. I might say, is it 2020? Is it 2022? 2019? I might get it wrong. It's just weird. I can remember dates and places and names and all those things. But my age, it's like I lose sense of the present or something. And then after 15 minutes, it just kind of goes away as it goes as quickly as it came on. So it's crazy. Look at me talking about my medical history. This is all supposed to be private. What am I doing? Okay. What's everybody saying here? Carrie says, here, as long as weather will let me. It's yucky here. Is it snowing, Carrie? What's it doing there? And I know you were in that area of tornadoes and everything too, Carrie, right? TD says, just hope you're okay and can figure out what's up. TD, since it happened, I will admit that maybe it took me a couple days to recover from that. I've been pretty okay since. Feel great. Just being very careful about watching anything with moving screens. It's not so much computers, it's the TV. You have to remember your computer shows images different than your TV does. And so that's why I think the computers are easier on my eyes for this than what that is, I think. Delane says, yeah, parenting is now so different than when my girls were young. Our youngest is 30. So different. I don't use webs to self-diagnose. Panic attacks can hit anyone for any reason. Look at Gary going all Marcus Welby MD on us. Valerie, I completely agree with you. If anyone has a panic attack, it's on you. I realize that I'm making it layman's terms, panic attacks and everything, but I think there is, knowing myself, I think that there's a bit of truth to that. The epilepsy is a beast. I know it is. And once again, we'll see what he has to say tomorrow. I know that, when people see the E word, they think of people passing out and shaking and biting their tongue and all those things. And it's not that. In fact, I think that I could have one of these in front of a group of people. And as long as I didn't do anything, I think that they probably wouldn't even know. but I would know. Most people, and it's PTSD from something that happened in life. Maybe I don't. Once again, not something. Have the panic attacks occurred more in the morning, afternoon, at night? Do they occur any time of the day? It's one specific situation. Screaming when I'm here. When it's happened, I've been inside watching a TV or a screen when they've happened every time. There's only happened 4 or 5 times, but I'm like 4 for 4, 5 for 5, whatever that is. That this last time I was looking at my computer, looking at the TV, looking at the computer, watching a Law and Order. I looked up at the TV and wham, this it comes from back here and whoop, just like that, like that. So I don't think it has to anything to do with the time of day. It has everything to do with what my eyes are on. Carrie says, crazy high wind, missed tornadoes by a few hours. Well, that's good to hear. Charlotte, my son has epilepsy, but it is controlled by medicine. And Charlotte, that may be something that my doctor may bring up. The tough part is, how are you supposed to diagnose and treat something that only may happen once a year or not even that? I don't know. So that's what's going on with me. Really, though, I don't want anybody to worry about me. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Everybody, I have to admit, I'm a very fortunate guy, and I wish everybody could feel like I do on a daily basis. I'm not here to complain. All right, so that got all the personal stuff out of the way. So let's move on to some of the things that I want to talk about tonight regarding true crime stuff, regarding unfound stuff. And I did get a couple of questions from the audience before we got started tonight. In fact, let me just check to make sure I'm not missing anything. Doesn't seem so. All right. So we got a couple good questions, and I get to one of the questions. I'll do a little theorizing and analysis of a very, very well-known, I guess you'd call them a group disappearance. We'll get to that soon. First, though, we're going to do where we usually go, the poll for the preceding episode, the Jamie Peterson. She went missing from Ross Township. And the discussion group decided that her disappearance was surely planned. Surely. Pretty much. And meaning probably it was caused by the man who was previously in her life, Alex. Think tank, pretty much planned, but I will have to admit that there's at least one person who had some doubts. I'm not going to name anybody, Carrie, that it could be somebody else who caused the disappearance. So there's that. And for me, if you are a member of Patreon, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast, where you can read what I write about every disappearance that we cover every Friday, you'll know that I went pretty much in the planned direction as well. Although I still think it's up to some interpretation. So I said I'm like 90% planned. And I do believe that Alex caused it. There's just too many. Certainly it's circumstantial. If it was scientific, he would have been charged with something by now. Certainly circumstantial, but it's just hard. It's hard to ignore that there's a restraining order against him. He knows it's there. He's still over at the place. They're talking, and then she's missing. But maybe one of these days they'll figure out it was someone else. Or maybe Jamie took off all on her own. I would be surprised. Carrie, I'm totally raising my hand on that one. I was the odd man out. Yep. She was, everyone. Look at Carrie. She was in the think tank. Carrie, by the way, if everybody doesn't know, Carrie is one of my assistants. She gives a lot of help when it comes to behind the scenes, like law enforcement procedures. She was a 911 operator. And so she's been able to really help me out on topics such as that. But she's still holding out that it might be somebody else who caused the disappearance. And that's fine, Carrie. You be you. But, unlike maybe the week before with Allie Lowitz, are not as big probably as a mystery. Even if we are to think that somebody else could have caused it, then you still only have a couple choices. Whereas with Allie Lowitz, you got viably 5 or 6 different possibilities there. We all have our own pet theory, but still, as you look at the facts, you can visualize a lot of different scenarios. Whereas with Jamie's, 2, maybe 3, but primarily 1. Thank you, Screaming. Please give a thumbs up as you are watching this. Do not forget to do it. It's very important as we move into 2022. I think the YouTube channel did very well in 2021. And I think I got the stats from YouTube just a couple days ago for the year. They're pretty good stats for a program that's primarily just audio. So that's how I will always look at that. I know that there are other channels. John Lorden and others have way more subscribers and views, but they are primarily video shows. And so we have to judge apples to apples. So being Unfound is an audio program, then you have to judge that against these YouTube channels. And in that way, very comparable. Moving on, you'll be very excited to know that I got a text yesterday that for 2022, the Dr. Telesco and I will be getting together again for our shows, although it sounds to me like we're not going to be starting until February. I think she has some things going on in January, but in February, it's a while from now, 2 months, we'll be getting together for the YouTube live shows on Thursday evenings. So that'll be nice. And I've also gotten an invitation to go back down there to speak this next semester to a whole new group of students. I'm guessing in the same room. I don't know. But I don't know when it's going to be. Probably, I'm guessing not until April or something like that. Whatever they want me to do is fine. I'm just doubting it'll be like in January, maybe February. So I am looking forward to going down there and speaking to a whole new group of students. I'm sure that I'll be working on my presentation, making some tweaks here and there. So the next group probably get a little bit different flavor than the people got the first time. And actually, something that I have been working on is sending some emails out to schools. You should know, as you already know, Natasha, my assistant, has decided to move on. In fact, I talked to her on the phone today, so everything's good. But she just has other things that she wants to do. Unfound work took up a little bit of her time, and she wants to use that time for something else. Totally fine. And so, but she was the one who originally was emailing some of these schools. So I'm going to take that over. Totally, back for me doing it myself. Totally fine. So I've been working on the letter, putting some links together so they have everything, and been picking out some schools. And probably within the next couple days, I'll be sending out, probably going to do 5 to 10 emails at a time, and going to try to keep it to driving distance. Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, even going into Louisiana, maybe up into North Carolina. Just want to make it so that I can drive without too much of a hassle. And of course, there are plenty of schools with criminal justice programs in this entire area. So that's good news. But so once again, Dr. Telesco and I think we're going to start in February. And then at some point, I'll be going down there to speak again. And it's real easy going down there. It's 4.5 hour drive. A lot of it is very easy driving, especially when you get down to where it turns and starts going toward the east coast of Florida. There's no, there are exits, but there's no industrialization and all of that. So the driving is pretty free. So it's a nice drive. Of course, I just did it a month and a half ago. And so what else? Moving on to maybe this is pertinent given that I just mentioned it. I'm now doing the website and uploading of some of the YouTube videos on my own. I continue to look for anybody, resumes. If you know anybody who would like to do this for me, it's a volunteer position. But I try not to take up too much of anybody's time. I think Natasha can vouch for that. But I'm doing it for myself for now, which is probably good just to maybe refamiliarize myself with the process of working on the website, which is what I was doing originally before Natasha came along, but she did such a nice job. And because, I realized that not just doing this program, but I can even remember going back to the filmmaking days, is if you are in charge, like for an independent movie, if you are what you might call a producer, somebody who's brought people together or work with other people, bringing other people together, sometimes you can feel a little disconnected from some of the things that are going on that are important. Somebody's doing it and they're probably doing a fine job on it, but you can remember that day when you used to do it yourself and then somebody else is doing it. You haven't done it, done that job for a while, and you kind of start to feel kind of separated from it. And maybe you could forget, how much work goes into it. And if things change, do things need to be modified? And when you're so disconnected from it, maybe you can't make good decisions regarding that. And so I'm not saying I'm happy that Natasha left. I'm not. I wish she was still with us, but her life, fine. But on the other hand, it has allowed me to get, back to a little more involved with that, look at the process. Can it be improved for whoever might do it next? So this is the way I'm looking at it. Sharon, you are very generous. Enjoy your low-key Christmas. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to steal that from you, Sharon. I'm going to have a low-key Christmas. I like the alliteration there. Low-key Christmas. I hope your results are good. Thank you. Good. Yes. Good. Good. I like the word good too, Sharon, because it's good both ways. Delane, 420, you may have a smaller class attendance. Delane, we're not going there. I don't know. I really don't know what the date's going to be, Delane. To tell you the truth, we have not picked out a date yet. But I just don't think that it will be in January because everybody's getting back to class and everything. But I'll just take whatever date they give me, Delane. I really don't be like that, Delane. Kristen, you are very generous. Thank you so much. I love the little, I don't know, monster. I don't know what to call that little fellow waving the flags around, going around. He's going to get dizzy going in circles like that. But thank you, Kristen. You're very, very generous. I always appreciate seeing you here on the live show. Thank you so much. Kathy says hi. Carrie says the lane is naughty. Yes, she is. I agree. So once again, give the thumbs up as you are watching. Next topic, just want to give you a heads up for the next few weeks. This Friday, we are covering a new disappearance. This happens to be another one. What did I say? I told you we're going to go back to Western PA again. We're doing it this Friday. I'll talk about that at the end of the program. And that will be the last new disappearance for 2021. Then next Friday, which is actually Christmas Eve, I will release an episode, but we are going to revisit a missing persons case that Unfound covered back in 2017. The The reason I picked this one out is because I just be honest with you, it just does not get a lot of attention. As much as I do talk about comparing disappearances back and forth, I do that a lot. I don't know if anybody anywhere else does that, but I do it quite a bit. I enjoy doing it. I think it's helpful to myself and all of you. I know that's what I do speaking into the classes so far. I think the students find that helpful. But I also realize that as much as talk I do about all of these other disappearances, all 230 some that we've covered, there are some that just don't get mentioned very much. Maybe for whatever reason. Too unique, really can't compare them to others, or there's just not a lot of information, a lot of different reasons. But I've picked one out, and we're going to revisit it on Christmas Eve of this year. So 9 days from now. I know all of you will be doing your things, but 2:00 on Friday, you will get another episode revisiting, and it will have new commentary. You know how I do it. Usually the same, maybe an altered a little bit intro. It'll play. I'll have new Unfound news in there, and then intro play. Then the interview will play as it was done at the time, and then at the end, it will be new commentary for me. Using additional years of experience to analyze, of course, no theorizing, but some analysis of this disappearance now that I have a lot more experience with disappearances. So that's what will happen on Christmas Eve. And then on New Year's Eve, which is the next Friday, December 31st, that will be update episode volume 10. Cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. 10 update episodes coming up. So that will be for December 31st. And then I anticipate that on January 7th, which will be the next Friday after that, that will just start off 2022 with another new disappearance. I've already spoken to some people. No interviews done yet, but certainly I'm knowing we'll get at least one or two done before January 7th rolls around. But you have to remember, holidays, tough time. We have to remember, even with people who do not have disappearances in their lives, that sometimes the holidays can be a very depressing time. If you've lost a loved one to a death recently, I know for myself, my mother died less than a month before Christmas in 2018. So I know a little bit about that. So just imagine how it is for people who have missing persons cases in their family. It's not this time of year is not always a joyous time for everybody. And so I try to remember that when contacting these people. I try to be very understanding regarding that. And so that's why for the next couple weeks, it's not even a thought that would do any interviews for around this time. Although I will say in maybe going back to 2017, 2018, that was a little different. It occurs to me, at least maybe in 2018, that I had some interviews that were kind of stacked a little bit for whatever reason, especially in 2018. My mother had died, and I had already done some interviews because I didn't know she was going to die for those next weeks. And I took a couple weeks off. And so that then tended to back everything up. And so that's how I could finish the year with disappearances till the end of the year. Whereas that's not the situation. Wasn't the situation in 2019, wasn't in 2020, it's not this year. We're still covering more disappearances than anybody else out there. So we're just, and we of course want to do a quality job. And I don't want to put these people in a very awkward position. They're already, of course, fragile as it is. Delane says, I'm not naughty, but college students are. I actually thought he said for 2021. I gave that up in 1987. I'm not hip anymore. I don't know if I ever was hip, Delane. At least you were hip at one time. I don't know if I've ever been hip. To even use the word hip is something, Delane. No, I did not say for 2021. I think it was FOR 2022 is what I said. Hello, Marlene. What's going on? Did you have your pizza tonight, Marlene? Is the big question. That's what everybody wants to know. Kristen says, greatly appreciate what you do. You're fantastic. Admired to bringing light to all those that are almost forgotten. Kristen, thanks. D, completely random. But is there a reason why your views seem to be changed in the Tom Brown case? It's okay if you're not comfortable answering it, so you're not getting on a soapbox. Well, I'm always ready to get on a soapbox, D. Have my views changed? Have they? I will admit that at the time that Tom Brown's disappearance was, we covered it on the program, that I wrote about a specific theory that I had on Patreon. But I will tell you, I think publicly, I don't know if my views have changed. I think that I can be forthright enough in saying when I wrote that blog back in 2018 that I was going by the information. What have I said? As facts change, theories change. This is one of the reasons I don't argue with people about theories, because you never know from day to day, week to week, how things are going to change. At the time, I will tell you that I thought that there definitely could be law enforcement involvement in Tom Brown's case. Now, I will tell you, I don't know if there are any facts to dispute that. But I think what we've learned since then is maybe things regarding Tom, regarding that night, regarding a lot of things aren't as clear as we thought them to be in June of 2018. So I wouldn't say that I've changed. I would say that the facts have changed. I would say that the perceptions have changed. And I would say that, I don't think that anybody should be so hardened into a position that no matter what happens after declaring something, that's no, I'm not changing. So if I've changed, it's only because the information has changed. It's not because of anything else. And as I've said, D, that when did I say this? I think I said this on a live show a couple months ago. I think I wrote about it in a newsletter, being that we revisited Tom Brown's disappearance earlier this year. So I've had a chance in 2021 to express some further ideas. D, is that at some point somebody just has to be the adult in the room. And I'm fully willing to admit that in covering Tom's disappearance back in 2018, that certainly this started this rumor mill spinning. I'm not saying I knew that, but I can admit that I did it. I caused it. The problem is there have been but the issue is that I think I've stopped that. I think for a long time now, probably at least since 2019, I've tried to be a voice of reason. And it seems there are just too many other people who just like the rumor mill and the drama and everything, and they just want it to continue. So that's my impression. And the reason I think I can say that is because I've now covered 235 disappearances. In fact, I've covered more disappearances since the Tom Brown episode than I did before the Tom Brown episode. And so I have a lot of experience looking at disappearances and looking at facts and looking at theories and looking how law enforcement acted and all these things. And I try to be objective. And on top of that, I'm the one who has been invited to 2 schools to speak to criminal justice majors about this topic. So somebody in positions of knowledge think I'm pretty smart about it. So, um, I think that I would say that I'm just trying to look at things objectively, trying to calm down the rumor mill and all these things. And there are just too many people who enjoy it. And not just in Tom Brown's disappearance, but you could say that about many. Brian Schaefer's, Mara Murray's, Jennifer Kessie's, on and on and on. Many of these well-known disappearances have these hardened cliques, and there's no amount of facts and reasoning and everything else that will change any of them. Anybody's opinion. And I think that's where we're at in Tom Brown's disappearance, and that's unfortunate. And once again, I'm more than willing to own up to a part of that blame of going back in 2018. But I think then I've repented. I've called myself out on it. And now I've tried to be a voice of reason, and it just doesn't seem that anybody else wants to do that. I think there are just too many people that are invested in behaving like that and acting like that. I'm not invested in that. I'm invested in education on disappearances. That's what I'm invested in. It's a perfectly fine question. So no problem at all. Sharon, tomorrow is the first anniversary of my mom's death, but my heart goes out to the missing. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Sharon. My mother died on November 28th of 2018. Where has the time gone? Marlene says, yes, had pizza tonight. Pan, it was good. Well, Marlene, once again, you got to tell us what was on the pizza. You got to tell us what did you put on it or how did you order it, please. Bar pizza is the best it is. Carrie says, I think we all know now versus at the time. Tom Brown episode probably would have been a bit different. It would have been. Absolutely. A lot of different reasons. More facts now. More insight now. I've changed. I'm more experienced. I think I'd like to think I'm a better interviewer now. On and on. I'd still watch all the video. I'd still put it out there for everybody to look at. I think that's a responsibility that I have. But it certainly would be different. And this is why I continue to say I continue to learn like all of you do. I'm the one that just happens to have the microphone. Yes, it would have. Please remember to hit the screaming keeps reminding everybody. Thank you, screaming. So there you go. That's my answer, D. That's my answer. I think that there are a lot of reasons to believe a lot of different things. I think there's reasons to believe that he was murdered. There are reasons to believe he committed suicide. There are reasons to believe it could have been an overdose. There are reasons for everything. A lot of different things. The problem I have is everybody seems so dang sure that they're right when really the facts don't point in any particular direction. They point in all sorts of directions. I'm not saying it's always going to be that way. Very well could change tomorrow. And we do get answers. And I really don't care what the answers are. This is why, a couple months ago, I wrote about Janelle Matthews and regarding Steve Pankey. And I made the statement that I really don't care if Steve Pankey killed her or not. I'm not invested in him having been the murderer. May very well have done it. May very well have not have done it. I really don't care either way. All I care is the right person is caught and that person goes to jail. That is my only concern. The problem I have is too many times people are invested in a certain outcome. No matter what things might go in this direction or that direction. Whereas when it comes to Tom Brown, I'm the same way. I have my theories. I have my ideas only because I'm human. But I'm not invested in any particular theory. I don't care if he was murdered. I don't care if he committed suicide. I just hope eventually they can come to the correct conclusion. My problem is I don't know if anybody can come to the correct conclusion, given that so many people have clouded the topic. That's my attitude. Let's see. No beer involved. I'll have to come visit Jeffrey's in Plymouth. It will change your pizza preference. I'm always looking for good pizza. I'm not supposed to eat it because it has carbs in it and the dough and everything. And I haven't had a pizza for a while. Don't think. But I do love pizza. Peppers and Canadian bacon and pineapple on pizza. Carrie, I just don't know you anymore. Kristen, peppers and onions, the go-to. That's interesting. Marlene says Domino's extra cheese, sausage, mushrooms, onions, and bell peppers, and some stuffed cheesy bread. Wow, if only. Yeah, it's going to be good. Hawaiian, no good. Sabrosa says, Ed, you are invested in the truth, not any specific outcome. Sabrosa, this is the exact reason I rarely make my theories public. That's the reason. That's the reason. And I don't even let the guests talk about theories on the program. You guys are smart. You figure it out. Now, I may disagree with you sometimes, and sometimes I'm surprised, and sometimes I'm wondering, how did they come to that conclusion? But at least we know you're coming to those conclusions independently. You're using your own minds, and that's good enough for me. Given so much went wrong from the jump of the investigation, yeah. Yeah, Carrie. Marlene, I'm trying sausage, mushroom, and next. It sounds delicious. Yeah, it does. All right, everybody's making me hungry now. I did have a steak today, by the way. It was good. And I also had some grapes, and I had some Brussels sprouts, and I had some cereal, and I drank a lot of water, and I had some iced tea, had some dark chocolate. That's what I ate today. So that's what's going on in the upcoming weeks. Thank you for the question, D. Always nice to get a good question that can take up some time. Next thing, and then I'm going to answer one of the questions that was given to me before the show started. Maybe work on a little bit of a surprise for the YouTube channel. Maybe. Don't want to jinx it. Don't want to get your hopes up. But something, we might do something on the YouTube channel live that we've not done before. It may not even be disappearance related, but just kind of something to go along with the new year. I don't know if it's going to happen. There's some logistical things that have to happen that may not happen, but I'm thinking about it. And so be prepared. It very well may be that if this happens, it'll be at very short notice. And some of you may find it interesting. Some of you may not be interested at all, but it's something that could happen. We'll just have to see. Karen, I personally think that Karen, considering they only found partial remains of Tom Brown, do you think that leans more toward murder? I don't know what leans toward, Karen. He could have been murdered out there and animals came along, and just animals do that. He could have collapsed there for something. Animals come along. Or somebody could have actually split him in two and put part of his remains there. I don't think the remains themselves point in any direction. Marlene says steak is always good. It is, as long as it's like medium rare, Marlene. The Real says, last time I had to use an EpiPen was because of pizza. Wow. You're allergic to pineapple. That's interesting, The Real. I'm interested. I'm allergic to certain fruits as well. Strawberries, cantaloupe, honeydew. No good. Not that I'd have to use an EpiPen, but it does make my throat very itchy, my mouth very itchy, and who wants to deal with that when I can eat all sorts of other things that I'm not allergic to? And I'm starting to find I'm allergic to quite a bit. Karen, I personally think that is a sad fact, not any particular lean toward the cause. Kristen said, Tom Brown brought so much attention to your channel because you brought notice to the police vehicles. That was a huge discovery. Kristen, I still think it is. I still think it is. I don't know what to make of it. But, you know, and as all of you know, I've talked to Pine Gregory about it. He admits he was in one of the cars. He says he was on a DUI that he was helping one of the other deputies with right in that area. Cherie, my assistant, the moderator in here, was able to verify that there was a DUI call the same night that Tom was out. But I'm still very much interested in it because they were right down the street from where Tom was at Frank's. Kristen says your channel is now always associated with Tom Brown, and I have no problem with that. Just like I guess John Lorden will always be associated with Alyssa Lamb. There's just one, you never know how these things are going to go. Never could I have predicted that. I continue to say, I just did for Tom Brown's disappearance what I've done for every other. It's just the way it went. Carrie says, my oldest daughter is allergic to strawberries. Carrie, I've learned it's very common. I'm allergic to the smell of cantaloupe. I hate that smell. Yeah, well, there's that too. Okay, let's move on. I think I'm just going to take both of these questions at the same time so I can move on to some other things. D, otherwise known as Stitching, is in here, and she asked me, she was asking me what did I get for Christmas? Well, I've only gotten one thing so far, and that is I got these steaks from my sister that I just talked about at the beginning of the program. Now, what did I get for other people? I think I could talk about here. I do not think, they don't have to, but for my brothers and my sister, I don't mind telling all of you that for my brother Brian, his wife, I got them and I put them in a beer of the month club. And they're beer drinkers, they're not alcoholics or anything, but they take an interest in unique beers and trying new types of beers and things. So I got them into a beer club. They'll be getting a different kind of beer like every other month for a few months, something like that. And then for my brother Michael and his wife, they're more kind of the wine drinking crowd. And so I got them, you're going to see a theme here. I got them, put them in a wine. So they'll be getting 2 different bottles of wine like every other month for like half a year or something like that. And then for my sister and her husband, I got them, I put them. So I really try to think about these things, knowing these people the way I think I do, being that I'm around my brother and his wife a lot. They're beer drinkers. And when we go to play trivia, they're always trying some, pale ale or something. I don't know anything about beer. I don't drink. But just looked up what might be interesting. And so I thought that would be a nice gift. And so, but I know my brother Michael and his wife, they're into wine and the wine and cheese crowd. And so I thought that would be nice. And then for my sister, she and her husband take great pride in their home. They've made a lot of improvements to it, done a lot of things. They do all the work themselves. Very unique type of house, especially on the inside. And so I got them into a flower of the month club. So every month or every other month, they'll be getting bouquets of flowers that they can put in their house to decorate their home. So that's the shopping that I did. Like I said, it seems like it's all the same thing. Yeah, but it certainly, I think, goes in line with who I think my brothers and my sister are. So that's the answer to that. That's what I got for other people. I don't know what I'm getting. My very well may be the sticks I get from my sister. The only thing I get. Nothing against my brothers. I don't know. If I don't get anything, it's fine. I don't ask for anything, and I haven't ever asked for anything for Christmas for years and years and years. I take that back. In 2015 into 2016, I asked for Christmas to get my first gun, and I did. When my dad and mother, this is when my mother just started originally getting sick in early 2016. When they came down there, my dad and I went gun shopping, and that I ended up getting this gun right here. This is my Glock 19 Gen 3. That's the gun I got. I've gotten three other guns since then. So other than that, I don't think that I've really asked for anything for many, many, many years. Valerie says, my son's best friend spent the night. I gave them Marco's Pizza. He had to go to the ER for an EpiPen. It was so awful. Yeah. The real, is there any vodka club? Where do I sign up? There probably is. There probably is a whiskey club and all these. You probably can look it up in Google. Once again, I don't know anything about alcohol. I just don't. I know that James Bond gets martinis shaken, not stirred. That's about all I know. Thanks, Charlotte. Thanks, Delane. There you go. So as far as the other question that I got, and it's from Carla, who I don't know if she's in here or not, so she'll just have to catch this after. She asked me to give my opinions on the disappearance of the Springfield Three. And I really don't know if I've done this before. This is once again one of those disappearances that I think is fairly well known, if only for the fact that three, an adult and two female teenagers go missing all at the same time. And I think that you just have to look at it the way you'd look at any other disappearance. What do we know about disappearances? What have we learned from 235 disappearances? And apply it to this disappearance. Forget that it's three women, forget where it is, forget what year it was. Just look at all these disappearances. Which ones seem to kind of be the same? And what do we think about those and see if it could apply to the Springfield Three. I will admit that I at least did a little reading. I don't know any more about the disappearance than any of you. Then I actually probably know less. Because many of you have the time probably to maybe have listened to some podcasts or shows that have covered the disappearance. I have not. So we have to remember, first of all, we have to remember something. People being abducted out of their homes, fairly rare, not common. In fact, if people disappear out of their homes, especially if it's women, it's because their husband or boyfriend caused the disappearance. Rosemary Rapp, Marion Hurley, Angela Green, Julie Early, on and on and on. I mean, how many have we covered like that? They were all in their homes, and then they weren't in their homes. So this is usually the way it happens when particularly women are in their homes and then suddenly they're missing. It's usually caused by the man in their life. Now, however, that does not apply here because there were no men, and it was, I think, just the mother and the daughter living together, and then the friend is over there. And so we have to look at something else. Of those unique disappearances of people being abducted out of their homes, what do we know? Well, we have a few like that. We have Linda K. Carroll, disappearance that goes way back in the Florida Panhandle. Now, in that situation, it is believed, I think there's a lot of reason to think, that her estranged husband came down. She was moving out. She was seemingly moving on in her life. she was going to be getting custody of the kids. She had gotten her own place, and that he drove down there, probably with the kids in the car, and dragged her out of her house and killed her. Most likely, that is what happened. So this is once again a man in a woman's life causing her disappearance, going into a house, abducting her, taking her away. We could also look at the other hand, like Evelyn Hartley, who from Wisconsin, 1950, she's babysitting over at a friend's house. The parents are gone. She's babysitting. There's a toddler, I don't know, 6-month-old or however old this child was. Evelyn's there. Family comes home. The baby's in there unharmed, thankfully. But obviously there was some type of break-in through the cellar. Evelyn's gone, still unsolved, almost 60 years later or 70 years later. Crazy. No closer, I don't think, than we've ever been to figuring out what happened. Of course, the tough thing there is, does somebody break into this place because they wanted to kidnap Evelyn? Or was this a break-in, they were going to steal something, and then she just happened to be there? We still don't know. We could also look at the disappearance or murder. We now know murder of Janelle Matthews. 12-year-old at home by herself, and somebody took her away. Some people believe it was Steve Pankey. Some people believe it wasn't. But she was certainly abducted and taken away. If we knew who did it, maybe it would be easier to assess. Same way with Evelyn Hartley's. If we knew who did it, if there wasn't a resolution to that, then it would be a better way to compare it to the Springfield Three. So the results are mixed, at best. The other problem is Evelyn Hartley, teenager, Janelle Matthews, 12 years old, not even a teenager yet. Whereas with the Springfield Three, we have a grown woman and her daughter who was in her later teens and a friend who was in her later teens. Now, what I would say is that before you start dismissing the idea that, well, one guy could not take three women, almost, adult women, and two women are almost adults all at the same time, I would say that's probably not true. And in fact, there is a murder that happened years ago here in the Tampa area where a mother, and I don't know if it was both of her daughters, but at least one of her daughters and another young girl were they here as tourists or something. They ran into a guy and he offered to take them out for a sunset cruise. His name was Oba Chandler. Some of you probably already know about this. And what happened was he took them out in his boat out into Tampa Bay, killed them. How did he kill them? Attached cement blocks or something, anchors or whatever else, and threw them into the water. Just met him that day. Killed him. And the only reason they caught him was because in something that she had written on something in her car was that, go to the pier and my boat is this and this is the registration or number. That is how they were able to track him down. And then one of the remains ended up being found in Tampa Bay. They traced it all to him. And then the state of Florida executed him some years ago. Did this all by himself. So it is possible for one person, one man, to do this. Okay, certainly possible. Now, the issue, though, is we have three women on land. It's at night. It's dark. That would make it certainly harder for one person to do that. So we might lean toward a group of people, probably men, maybe some women took place, but maybe 2 or 3 went over there to do something. Now, what I think is most important, not most important, but one of the important things we can't forget about this disappearance is that those three had plans to actually do something else that night. Now, they still might have come home and been home at the time that whatever happened. But they were supposed to go to one place and they didn't end up going. They went somewhere else. And when we have to start thinking, is that a part of the disappearance? Does that mean something or doesn't it? Was there an expectation? Was there some young guy waiting for one of these girls to show up at this party and she doesn't show up and he's all ticked off? So he and his friends go over there and they're all ticked off and she doesn't want to come out. And so something happens and they just take all three away and kill them. Happens. I don't know if there's any proof of that. But so we have to think about that they did something other than what was planned that night. And then you look at, or no signs of violence, this little globe that was covering the light, the outside light had been broken, and unfortunately somebody cleaned it up. What are we to make of that? What occurs to me, it's a certain, it could be a couple different possibilities. If one of the girls was being carried out, like over their shoulder or something, maybe your foot went up and hit that thing and broke it. Certainly possible. But we have to remember the light bulb was not broken. Just the covering on the what is it, ceramic or glass or whatever, covering the light was broken. The light itself was not broken. I'm going to guess that it worked. It wasn't burnt out. So very well could be a situation that somebody went over, their group went over, they couldn't figure out how to get in. So what they do, they break that because they know they're going to hear it inside. They're going to come to the door to see what the hell's going on. They're going to open the door and then they burst in. That's something also that occurs to me. But what it would mean is that these people would then know that these women are there and they don't care. It just seems to me that these disappearances were done by people who knew at least one of those girls, if not all three of them. Now, you would think that would be easy to figure out after, almost 30 years of who it was. And I know there's been a lot of different theories that have gone around. And even just within, I think, the last year or two, they were talking about, well, there was this van seen in the area and it was seen here and they were looking at it. I don't remember the specifics. It's, I have to tell you, I think this was something that was planned. I think that it was done by somebody who knew them. And the motivations, my problem is, I just don't know. I tried to quickly read up on this. I don't just think I know enough about the mother or the daughter and her friend, to really come to a strong conclusion of who it could have been. It just seems to me that it was somebody who knew them. Because I think what we know about disappearances, we can say a lot. There are a lot of question marks out there, but usually disappearances have something to do with the person involved. These are usually not random occurrences. This is one of the reasons when it comes to Steve Pankey that I still lean toward the idea that he didn't do it. He could have done it. But history would say that somebody more local to the Matthews house did it. And with Linda K. Carroll, we know, we kind of suspect that. And when we look at these disappearances, one after the next, we look and see that these disappearances have mostly to do with the people who went missing. Why? Because their disappearances are usually caused by people who they know. If we are to believe there's foul play. So let's see what everybody's saying, and maybe I can... Charlotte says it's a very hard case to figure out. Charlotte, me too. As of what came out lately, I'm starting to think more that their disappearance is connected to Angela Hammond. That's not something I'm associated. No, as well as Cassidy, I'm looking into Phelps is connected. You get on that, Carrie. You let me know what you find so I can be a little more educated on this. How can people go missing at the same time? I can't figure it out. It happens all the time. Colt Haynes, Molly Miller, Peggy and Patty McDaniel. Laura Bible and Ashley Freeman. In fact, it very well could be that this disappearance is very much like Ashley Bible and Laura Bible and Ashley Freeman. Maybe it's more like that than we realize. Charlotte says the Springfield Three had to be planned, in my opinion, because of the outside light being taken out. It was not the light that was taken out. It was the covering on the light. Carrie Stair abducted 3 women from motel in Yosemite. Yeah, Carrie Stair's brother was the one who was kidnapped for many years and came back home after escaping. I heard about the front porch light being broken. It was not the light. I'm going to say it again. Yes, then Steven Stanner was killed in a motorcycle accident. Charlotte, I could not believe what Carrie did after what happened to his brother. Yeah. What's up, Shy? Marlene says they thought that maybe the son, Bart Streeter, might have been involved. Are you ever going to do some overseas? It's funny you ask that, Shy, because I had a message today about a woman messaged me about covering a disappearance in the Philippines. And I said, great. So we'll see if we can make that happen. The issue, though, may be that we just don't have a lot of facts to talk about. That may be the problem, but I will have to get into a little more deeply before I can make that assessment. But right now I'm thinking, just don't know if we have enough facts. So I've stated many times I'd like to cover the disappearance of Trevor Deely from Dublin, Ireland. And some others. There's that guy who was in that airport and they have the video of him running off. That seems interesting. Would have to work out some logistics, maybe talking over Facebook Messenger. And of course, it's totally different time zones and everything. And there would also probably be the issue of understanding the laws in other countries regarding some of these things. So maybe that might be helpful. But certainly, hey, one of the first cases we ever did on Unfound was in Africa. I just think it's unfortunate we've not been able to go back there again, but I would love to. Shy says, I just watched a documentary about Trevor. His case is a weird one. It certainly is. So that's really all I can really say about the Springfield Three. I would just look at it like I do any disappearance. And it just seems to me that when you hear about this, the most logical choice is that somebody had a beef with one of those girls or the wife or the mother, I should say. And they, it very well may be that somebody showed up there thinking the mother was going to be home by herself, that the girls weren't there, and the girls were collateral damage. That's possible too. But I'm always going to subscribe to the idea that it was somebody who was a very personal type of crime. I think maybe if I had some days to read about it and read the news articles and maybe go to Web Sleuths, maybe a little bit, and I could give you a much firmer idea. But that's the best I can do in a live show. Just perusing it for a few minutes. Let's move on to what do I want to do? Let's talk a little bit about these 2 teenagers who, Shy, where are you? I would love for you to do one in my area. Well, Shy, you'll have to, where are you? Tell us where you're coming from. We have to talk about these 2 teenagers, Vincent Abalafia and Kaylee Catalano. These 2 teens who took off, changed their appearances somewhat, left their phones behind, and took off and went to New York City. And there was, of course, people looking for them. Both of them only 15. Everybody's worried about them. And they disappeared on December 9th. Luckily, they were found alive on December 14th. So what are we supposed to think about this? Was this just 2 teenagers running away like some teenagers do? Or was there more to it? Now, I will tell you, it seems like there was more to it to me because it does seem they changed their appearances before they left. Did they cut their hair or something like that? That probably had to be very worrisome to their families. Now, on the other hand, it might mean that uh, they weren't intent on, they didn't have, this wasn't like Romeo and Juliet or something, that they were just running away. I would think changing appearance would mean that they were going to continue to live. They didn't have any suicidal ideas or crazy ideas, that they were going to, try to live on their own, and they just didn't want to be identified. Still, it probably was very worrisome to the parents just thinking about them changing their appearances. You also have to be open to the idea, could this have been a dry run for something that they might attempt down the road? Because it does seem to me that they were found once people really started looking for them, that they were found fairly easily. Granted, 5 days for their parents, friends, loved ones, grandparents, whoever else. Horrible 5 days. Horrible. But I think the families, they're really going to have to get to the core of why they did this anyway, especially being that they decided to do this together. Usually, kids they run off by themselves. So what was this all about? I don't know. I'm just lucky they were found. Maybe they were just like, you know what? It's the Christmas season. We want to be together. Our parents are really a drag. We don't care about school. And we're going to go down to New York City. We're going to see the tree. We're going to see all the lights. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to avoid all the dangerous places. Nobody has to worry about us for this. That. We have a couple bucks here and there. We'll do this, we'll do that. And we know people will eventually find us. We're not really going to be hiding anyway. And everything will be fine. Very well could be. Just wanted to get out and do their own thing. They weren't necessarily running away. In fact, you might also even believe that had they not been found after 5 days, that they might have returned on their own anyway. The issue is that if they thought this was a success, they might have had time to do it again. And then it becomes a longer part of the time. And maybe they start taking more risks. That's the problem. That is what I think too, but maybe they thought the mom was going to be alone. I'm open to that, Charlotte. It seems to me, Charlotte, that when it comes to these types of situations, that adults have more necessarily enemies that could pull something like off than children do. Now, very well may be that an adult is coming after a child, like maybe happened in Everly Hartley's case, like most likely happened in Janelle Matthews' case, whether you believe it was Steve Pankey or Nora Strake or somebody else. It's very possible that adults coming after children, but I don't know if adults would come after children if they knew another adult, man or woman, was in the house. So it seems to me that this might have been more connected to the mother than to the teens, but it's open to interpretation. Shy, you're in Buckhannon, West Virginia. Well, we've covered some disappearances in West Virginia. I can't say I know exactly where Buckhannon is. I've been through West Virginia many times, like Beckley, West Virginia, when I'm driving from Pennsylvania to Florida or Florida to Pennsylvania. I've been to Charleston many times. I've been to Morgantown many times. So I don't know where that is, but I know that we've covered at least a few disappearances in West Virginia, Shy, but yeah, maybe I'm sure we'll get there again eventually. Mysterious West Virginia on YouTube, great commentator. Yeah, true. Shy says his name was Luke Stout. He has been missing since 2012. Shy, if you wanted to send me some information about it to unfoundpodcast@gmail.com, we'll give it a shot. If his family's around or somebody who's done some interviews with local media, sure. That is a great podcast. Yes. I haven't heard of those two yet. I will have to look them up. Okay. Kathy, yes, Charlotte. I believe the killer was after mom Cheryl and daughter Susie. I think Stacy was at the wrong place at the wrong time. There we go. Delane, we have a young girl here missing. Law enforcement classified as a runaway. Boyfriend says she left walking. I told the mother to make as much noise as it takes to get classified. Classified as endangered, missing versus runaway. Once again, when the boyfriends and guys start talking, oh yeah, she just walked off. You gotta be nervous about that. It's like 30 minutes from Clarksburg. I've been to Clarksburg, Shy, but it's been years and years and years and years ago. Karen says an unfound episode on the Springfield Three would be interesting. Cannot rule it out, Karen. It's just unclear who we need to talk to, but we could certainly do it for 2022. Charlotte, in Janelle Matthews' case, they should have looked into that other man more. Charlotte, they did look into him. They did. The issue was, though, that they had this guy, Steve Pankey, who just wouldn't get out of their face. That was the problem. So what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to look at this guy over here when this guy over here is acting so strangely and he lives 2 miles away and seemingly has no connection to the family? That was, and it very well may be that Steve Pankey is innocent, but by him acting crazy, actually ran interference for the person who actually did it. It's something we need to still be open to all these years later. Magpie, so sorry to barge in late. You're not barging in, Magpie. The door is always open. I've tried getting his mother to get a hold of you. Unfortunately, she died last year. Wow. Well, maybe a sibling, a brother, sister, Shy might be the next best choice. Of course, a father too. But I have to be honest, my experience, although we have had some fathers on the program, sometimes it's hard getting fathers on the phone. They take these disappearances in a little bit different way than mothers do. Us guys, strong, silent type, hard talking about it. Women have a much easier talking about this. I think it's just because stereotypically women are much more used to talking about things that bother them and hurt them, and that's why so many mothers are on the program. Magpie, if I write you an email, will you read it? I want to ask you about something really dark, sinister, and I don't know if here is the place. Unfound Podcast at gmail.com, Magpie, but I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody else. If it's not involving a disappearance, don't expect to get a lot out of me. I just like to stick to what I think I know. If Steve wouldn't have lied, he probably wouldn't be on trial. And he did admit he did lie. So, yeah. I think whatever you think of Steve Pankey, he certainly complicated that investigation, whether he did it or not. Steve Pankey is a pathological liar. That's true. So as far as Vincent and Kaylee, I think their parents, far being, I don't have any kids, but I think we just have to be really aware of the fact that when two teenagers do that, they may be prone to doing it again. Magpie says it's about missing children. Magpie, we don't do a lot of child disappearances on the program for a lot of different reasons that I've talked about in the past. It's not that I don't do them. It has to be under very specific circumstances, but you start talking about really dark and sinister, I start thinking conspiracy theories and everything. And, me personally, I think the stats that are out there regarding missing people, missing children in the United States are totally overblown. But if it's dark and sinister, it starts sounding like very shaky territory to me. So please think about that before you send me a message. Please think about that. Let's move on to this. This is something that I saw, and it was a disappearance that started in 1981. And finally, this guy's remains have been identified. But his truck was found in a totally different country. I'm going to just read this article to you word for word because it caught my attention. This comes from Helena, not Helena, Helena, Montana. A New Jersey man missing for decades has been identified as a murder victim, and his case has a connection to Montana. Ted Kampf, Kampf, very German, left his home in New Jersey in July 1981 to travel to Vancouver, Canada, according to NamUs. The 46-year-old Kampf was in touch with his family up until July 11th, 1981. According to NamUs, some of his traveler's checks were cashed at a bank in British Columbia in July, and on July 27th, 1981, a man who identified himself as Kampf and driving Kampf's truck was involved in a minor vehicle crash in Idaho. In August 1981, more of Kampf's other traveler's checks were cashed. Traveler's checks, those were the days. Cashed in North and South Dakota by someone other than Kampf, according to NamUs. And finally, in October of 1981, hunters found his truck at the bottom of a ravine off Flint Creek Pass in Granite County, Montana. Now there is a new development in the 40-year-old case. Remains found in Dawson City, Yukon, Canada. So if you don't know where Yukon is in Canada, it's like way up there at the Arctic Circle. Not just over the border into Canada from Montana, but way up there. Cold. Remains found in Dawson City, Yukon, Canada in 1983 were identified as belonging to Kampf, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Historic Case Unit, and Texas-based Othram Incorporated used DNA to link the remains to Kampf, who was reported missing with the Oakland Police Department and New Jersey Police. The University of North Texas Health Science Center and National DNA Databank were able to match DNA from the remains to Kampf. Along with clues found at the scene, the RCMP said the pathologist who examined the remains found evidence to conclude the case was a homicide. Mr. Kampf's remains were placed in a grave. RCMP investigator Michelle Simpson, so French, wrote in an email to MTN News. Simpson added there was an apparent attempt to conceal the remains. The RCMP determined Kampf was killed in Dawson City in July 1981. His truck was then driven from Canada to Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, and finally to where it was left in Granite County, Montana. Investigators believe the person who drove Kampf's truck and left it in Montana has a connection to Montana and possibly to mining, Simpson said. Simpson said the Dawson City area is known for gold deposits and mining in the early 1980s, and the area Kampf's truck was found is also known for mining. RCMP investigators are looking for information on anyone from Montana or the Granite County area who may have gone to Dawson City, possibly to mine in the Yukon or on the way to Alaska. Simpson said the person is considered a person of interest in the case. The person has been in possession of Kampf's truck after his passing and seems to have assumed Kampf's identity for a period of time, Simpson wrote. At the time of his death, Kampf was described as a 46-year-old white man between 5'9" and 5'10" and weighing between 100 and 190 pounds, kind of like me. He was driving a 1980 brick-colored Chevy pickup with New Jersey plates. The truck was found at the bottom of a ravine just off Flint Creek Pass in Granite County. Anyone with information is asked to call the Yukon RCMP Historical Case Unit at 867-667-5500. Very interesting. So there's a situation where remains are found in the Yukon Territory in another country, and the person's car is found in the United States. Crazy. And it took 40 years to resolve all that, because you just heard the remains were found in 1983. Took 38 years to identify them. And see, this is something that we should never forget regarding the disappearances that we've covered on Unfound. It very well could be that remains of many of the people we've covered on the program have been found. They just haven't been identified yet because of where they were found. It very well could be that you got missing in Florida. The remains are in Washington, the state of Washington. Always need to keep that in mind. Just because a family doesn't know about remains being found doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Very interesting. What does this mean? It's going to be kind of tough to track down somebody after 40 years. Maybe, you know, did this truck have fingerprints in it? You know, I guess not. Or they would have been able over the years to connect it to somebody's, and maybe somebody wiped it down. You know, if it was in a ravine, that sounds remote to me. And was there anything within walking distance? If this person did it by himself, pushed the truck off the cliff, did he get somebody to pick him up? These are things you have to start thinking about. But you'd think that these would all have been looked at way back when the truck was found. Whether, you know, that you can do those things no matter if you think that this comp guy was dead or not. So we have to remember 40 years, even if the perpetrator was 30 at the time, to be 70 now. So, but hey, they caught the original Night Stalker after almost 40 years. So I guess it's possible. So just wanted to read that story to you. Caught my eye. Okay, thank you. I want to talk to you about ancestry research. Yeah. Delane, Jane Van Gilder, she could have ended up anywhere in the United States. Yeah. I think we covered her disappearance the best we could. I know after the episode came out, a lot of additional information came out. Once again, as somebody mentioned on Mysterious West Virginia site. There is nothing that I heard in there to believe that somebody murdered her, or her husband who was in West Virginia went up there. And there's nothing that I heard regarding that. All we know is this vague statement she gave for leaving, that, what'd she say, household duties have increased or something like that. But we have to realize that, and maybe all of us at one time or another, when we were quitting a job or leaving a job, have created a bogus reason. We just didn't want to be truthful. So we can't rule that out for, you know, Mary Jane either. Just don't know. I would not be shocked if she continued to live out her life and in a fine manner, and changed her name or got married, and that was that. I would not surprise me at all. In fact, got to hope that did happen. Probably one and only time you'll say gold miner in a missing persons case. Hey, Sub Rosa, I'd love to say it again. That sounds very interesting. You know, to talk about gold mining. We've already talked about the stealing of platinum, going back to Dale Kerstetter, Sub Rosa. So you can never rule any. I mean, who would have thunk? I mean, really, when I started Unfound, I never could have imagined that we would ever cover a disappearance that was connected to stealing of platinum. But it happened. So let's move on to, let's just wrap this baby up. I have a couple other things, but they can wait. They're just not that important. So let's move on to this Friday's disappearance. Now, what's interesting about this disappearance is this is very close. I told you that for some reason we seem to be covering all these Pennsylvania disappearances recently. We had Alicia Markovich, Lonnie Rogers, Jamie Peterson, and now, of course, we can't forget Rashawn. Covered his disappearance a few months ago. Of course, that was back in, that's over in Eastern Pennsylvania, but we're going really, 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 really close to where I grew up in Pennsylvania. We're going to Arnold, Pennsylvania, small town outside of Pittsburgh on the Allegheny River, north of Pittsburgh. Even though it was very close, I did not go there many times. And in fact, I talk about that in the episode. And I actually was living in Leechburg when this disappearance happened. And, you know, I can't really remember if I remember reading it in the newspaper or not. I really can't remember, but I certainly lived there, and I certainly remember what I was doing in June of 1996. At that time, I was dating a woman. Her name was Janie. And that was a pretty cool summer that we had. I was still 25 years old. And so this Friday, we'll be covering the disappearance of Belinda Blainar, Blaniar. She disappeared on June 21st, 1996, from Arnold, Pennsylvania. The guest for the episode is her sister, Robin Antonica, and I did the interview a couple days ago. Robin did a fine job. No, she did the interview yesterday. What am I talking about? We did that interview yesterday. And the title of this episode is One Rough Town. Because growing up in that area, everybody knew that Arnold was kind of a unique place. Back in the 50s and 60s, it was all mobbed up. And in fact, there was a restaurant on the outskirts of Leechburg that was once owned by the mobsters who lived in Arnold. Now, I didn't start going to the restaurant, or at least my family didn't start going to it until it had passed on to other owners. And once in a while, when I go back to Pennsylvania, I still go there. I meet my buddy, a longtime best friend, Brad Carastori there. And we eat at this restaurant that the mob used to own like 40 some years ago. And the mob was right out of Arnold. But then Arnold changed. It suffered a decline because of the steel mills in Pittsburgh declining. And its population today is like less than half of what it used to be. But the mob moved out, and a lot of crime and drug use and things like that. Blight, I guess urban blight moved in. And that's how I kind of remember Arnold, Pennsylvania, having grown up there. Although, like I said, I've only been there a few times. This is where Belinda Blainar went missing. Now, you should know, Belinda had a tough life. Dropped out of school at 10th grade. And for 15 years, she was a sex worker in Arnold. And on that night, she was living with the guy's name's Keith. They had been together for many years. In fact, you will hear her sister actually talk somewhat favorably of Keith. But allegedly, Belinda went out to get beer at like 1 a.m. at a local bar, walking there and back. She went out. She never returned. But what makes this disappearance maybe a little more than may seem is that Belinda claimed that she was a witness to a murder in Arnold 3 years before that. And she had been talking about that right before she went missing. And this is a murder that is still unsolved to this day. And it was the murder of a Stephanie Coyle in 1993. So we talk about that during the episode as well. And I will be posting some information about that murder too. So that will be this Friday. The disappearance of Belinda Blainar, Blaniar. She is on NamUs. She is on the Charlie Project. June 21st, 1996. Her sister, Robin Antonica, is the guest. And the title of the episode is One Rough Town. So what's everybody saying here? Yes, she did. Kathy says, I think additional household duties meant another pregnancy. She never used her SS Social Security number again. I think she found another guy and went to Canada, maybe. Kathy, we could only hope regarding Mayor Jane Van Gilder. Shay says, it breaks my heart when it's a child that goes missing. Yeah, Shy, the thing is, most of the time it's caused by a parent. Got to remember that. Could you use that excuse now? Additional household duties, so I need a day off. Yeah, things have changed. Yeah, you've come a long way, baby, I guess, as the Virginia Slims commercial used to say. Cherie's getting out of here, and guess what? I'm getting out of here too. So let's wrap this show up. Started with me talking about a disc golf tournament in Bradenton. Staying here for Christmas and New Year's. Dentist again. Going to the doctor tomorrow. Christmas gifts. Christmas shopping done. Peterson Poll, Nova Southeastern University, website and YouTube. The upcoming weeks. Maybe got a surprise going on. Talked about Vincent and Kaylee running away and then being found. Talked about this guy who went missing from New Jersey, identified 40 years later. Took some questions from Dee and Carla and finished it up with this Friday's disappearance, this episode. Belinda Blanar. That's it. I told you it was going to be an excellent show. So give this show thumbs up. Keep your head on a swivel. The other day on YouTube video, I thought Ed was the only one. It's not an original. I wish it was, Sheree. So that's it. Thank you all for joining in tonight. Love doing these live shows. I do not know why more true crime people do not do them. I love it. Good night.